How do you stay calm when life feels out of control? It's a question that resonates deeply, especially in a world that often feels like it's spinning faster than we can keep up. Once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events," and those words hold a timeless truth. What if the key to navigating life's chaos isn't about trying to control it, but rather learning to accept what you can't change? This is where the ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers us a profound tool for modern living: the practice of Stoic acceptance. At its core, Stoic acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning yourself to fate. It's about cultivating the mental clarity and resilience to face life's uncertainties with grace. In this video, we'll explore how principles like cognitive detachment, resilience, and presence can help you transform the way you respond to challenges. Whether it's a sudden setback, an unexpected change, or just the daily stresses that feel overwhelming, these tools can help you not just survive, but thrive. So if you've ever felt like life is tossing you around, stick with me, because this could be the shift in perspective you've been looking for. Stoic acceptance isn't about giving up, it's about reclaiming your power. At its core, this ancient philosophy teaches us to focus not on the chaos of the world around us, but on how we choose to respond to it. The key lies in understanding what's truly within our control and what isn't. As Epictetus wisely put it, some things are in our control and others are not. Our thoughts, our actions, our decisions, these are ours to shape. But external events, the actions of others, or even the unpredictability of life, these are beyond our grasp. And that's where Stoic acceptance comes in. It's not about passively enduring hardship, it's about actively choosing how we engage with it. Think about it this way. Imagine you've just experienced an unexpected job loss. It's a situation that feels overwhelming, even devastating. The external event, losing your job, isn't something you can control, but your reaction to it, that's entirely up to you. Stoicism would encourage you to focus not on the loss itself, but on how you move forward. What skills can you sharpen? What new opportunities might this change open up? By shifting your focus inward, you reclaim agency over your life, even in the face of uncertainty. Now, take a moment to reflect. What's one situation in your life where you've struggled to accept what you can't control? Maybe it's a strained relationship, a health challenge, or even something as simple as being stuck in traffic. The truth is, we all face moments where life doesn't go as planned. Stoic acceptance invites us to meet those moments not with resistance, but with clarity and purpose. It's a practice, not a one-time fix, and it begins with recognizing where your power truly lies. What if you could stop worrying about things you can't change? This is the heart of the Stoic principle known as the Dichotomy of Control, a simple yet profound idea that has the power to transform how you navigate life's uncertainties. At its core, this principle teaches us to focus our energy only on what we can control and to let go of everything else. It's not about ignoring the world around us, but about recognizing where our true power lies, within ourselves. Picture this: you're stuck in a traffic jam, running late for an important meeting. The cars aren't moving and frustration starts to bubble up. But here's the thing, you can't control the traffic. What you can control is how you respond to it. Do you let the stress consume you, or do you take a deep breath, accept the situation, and use the time to listen to a podcast or reflect on your day? This is the dichotomy of control in action. By shifting your focus to your internal response, you reclaim your peace of mind, even in the midst of chaos. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that for a moment. How much of your stress comes from things that haven't even happened yet, or may never happen? The dichotomy of control helps us break free from this cycle by grounding us in what's real and actionable. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing where to direct your energy. So let's make this personal. What's one external event you often stress about that you could let go of? Maybe it's a friend's opinion, a missed deadline, or even the weather. Take a moment to reflect on how much of your mental energy is spent on things outside your control. By practicing this Stoic principle, you're not just reducing anxiety, you're reclaiming your focus, your time, and ultimately your life. And that's where true freedom begins. Your emotions don't have to control you. Think about that for a moment. How often do we let our immediate feelings dictate our actions, only to regret them later? Cognitive detachment, a core principle of Stoicism, offers a way out of this cycle. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about creating a mental space between what happens to us and how we choose to respond. One said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What he's pointing to is the power of our perspective. When we allow ourselves to be swept away by emotional reactions, we let external events dictate our inner state. But when we practice cognitive detachment, we step back, observe the situation objectively, and decide how to act based on reason rather than impulse. Let's take criticism as an example. It's natural to feel defensive or upset when someone critiques us. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, we paused and asked ourselves, is there truth in this feedback? Can I use this to grow? Detachment allows us to see criticism not as a personal attack, but as an opportunity for improvement. It shifts the focus from how we feel in the moment to what we can learn from the situation. So, how do you typically react to criticism? Do you find yourself getting defensive, or do you take a moment to reflect? Imagine how your interactions might change if you approached them with a little more detachment. This isn't about becoming indifferent or cold. It's about reclaiming your power to choose how you respond, no matter what life throws your way. Everything in life is temporary, even the challenges. This simple truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy and its approach to impermanence. The Stoics believed that nothing lasts forever, whether it's joy, pain, success, or failure. By embracing this reality, we can learn to appreciate the present moment fully and release our grip on things we cannot control. Think about it. The very nature of life is change. Seasons shift, relationships evolve, and circumstances transform. Fighting against this natural flow only leads to frustration and suffering. But when we accept impermanence, we align ourselves with the way the world works, freeing ourselves from unnecessary resistance. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This quote speaks directly to the idea of impermanence. If we allow ourselves to be ruled by attachments, whether to material possessions, relationships, or even our own emotions, we become prisoners of those things. But when we recognize their temporary nature, we gain a sense of liberation. We stop clinging to what we cannot keep and start focusing on what truly matters, our own character, and how we choose to respond to life's changes. Take the example of losing a loved one. Grief is one of the most profound experiences of impermanence, and it's something we all face at some point. The Stoic approach doesn't deny the pain of loss, it acknowledges it fully. But it also reminds us that loss is part of the human experience. By accepting this, we can honor the memory of those we've lost without being consumed by despair. We can cherish the time we had rather than resent the fact that it's over. This perspective doesn't eliminate grief, but it helps us move through it with greater resilience and grace. So what's something you're holding onto that you know is temporary? It could be a relationship, a job, or even a phase of life. Reflect on how your attachment to it might be shaping your emotions and actions. Are you resisting its natural course? Are you trying to force it to last longer than it should? The Stoic practice of embracing impermanence invites us to let go gently, to appreciate what we have while we have it, and to trust that we have the strength to adapt when it's gone. This isn't about indifference. It's about finding peace in the ebb and flow of life. What if every challenge was an opportunity to grow stronger? That's the heart of the Stoic approach to resilience. Stoicism doesn't just teach us to endure hardships, it shows us how to transform them into stepping stones for growth. The Stoics believed that obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're training grounds for building character and mental toughness. As Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Think about that for a moment. Every setback, every struggle, every moment of discomfort is a chance to become more resilient, more capable, and more grounded in our ability to handle whatever life throws our way. Imagine you've just experienced a failure. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, or a relationship ended unexpectedly. It's easy to feel defeated, to let that failure define you. But Stoicism invites us to see failure differently. Instead of viewing it as a reflection of your worth, see it as a lesson. What can you learn from this experience? How can it help you grow? Resilience isn't about avoiding pain. It's about using that pain to build a stronger, more adaptable version of yourself. Take the example of recovering from a career setback. Maybe you lost a job or missed out on a promotion. A Stoic wouldn't dwell on the unfairness of the situation. Instead, they'd focus on what they can control, their attitude, their effort, and their willingness to keep moving forward. That's resilience in action, choosing to rise after a fall, not because it's easy, but because it's how we grow. So what's one challenge you faced that made you stronger? Reflect on that for a moment. Maybe it was a personal loss, a professional failure, or even a moment of self-doubt. The key is to recognize that those experiences, as difficult as they were, played a role in shaping who you are today. Stoicism reminds us that resilience isn't something we're born with. It's something we build, one challenge at a time. And with each obstacle we overcome, we become a little more unshakable, a little more prepared for whatever comes next. The present moment is all we truly have. It's the only space where life unfolds, where we can act, think, and feel. Yet so often, we find ourselves tangled in thoughts about the future or haunted by the past. Stoicism teaches us that this habit of mental time travel is not only unnecessary, but also deeply unproductive. By anchoring ourselves in the here and now, we can reduce the weight of anxiety and regret, two emotions that thrive when we lose sight of the present. One of Stoicism's most famous practitioners put it simply, confine yourself to the present. This isn't just a poetic suggestion, it's a practical strategy for living a calmer, more focused life. When we're fully present, we're not distracted by what might happen tomorrow or what could have been different yesterday. We're here, grounded and capable of responding to what's directly in front of us. Take, for example, the stress of an upcoming presentation. It's easy to spiral into worry, imagining all the things that could go wrong or obsessing over how others might judge you. But when you bring your attention back to the present, you realize that none of those fears are real. They're just stories your mind is telling you. Right now, in this moment, you're fine. You're breathing, thinking, and preparing. The act of focusing on your current task, whether it's practicing your speech or organizing your notes, can dissolve much of that anxiety. This practice of presence isn't about ignoring the future entirely. It's about recognizing that worrying about it doesn't change it. The future will unfold as it will, and the only thing you can control is how you respond to it right now. The same goes for the past. Regret can be a powerful teacher, but dwelling on it only keeps you stuck. By focusing on the present, you free yourself to take meaningful action rather than being paralyzed by what's already happened or what might never come to pass. So let's pause for a moment. What's one thing you're currently worrying about that you could let go of by focusing on the present? Maybe it's a decision you're overthinking or a situation you're dreading. Whatever it is, try this. Take a deep breath, Bring your attention to what's happening around you right now and remind yourself that this moment is all you need to handle. The rest can wait. What does it mean to live a virtuous life in an unpredictable world? For the Stoics, virtue wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was the cornerstone of a meaningful existence. They believed that by cultivating wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we could navigate life's uncertainties with clarity and integrity. These four virtues serve as a compass, guiding us to act with purpose even when the path ahead is unclear. Take wisdom, for example. It's not just about knowing facts or having experience. It's about understanding what truly matters and what we can control. When faced with a sudden setback, wisdom helps us step back and assess the situation calmly, rather than reacting impulsively. Courage, on the other hand, isn't just about bold actions. It's about standing firm in our principles, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Justice reminds us to treat others with fairness and kindness, even in challenging circumstances, while temperance teaches us to find balance and avoid excess, whether in ambition, desire, or emotion. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of Stoic virtue. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when the world feels chaotic. For instance, imagine you're in a competitive workplace where shortcuts and unethical behavior might seem like the easy route to success. A Stoic approach would encourage you to stay true to your principles, knowing that integrity is its own reward. It's not about winning at all costs. It's about living in a way that you can look back on without regret. So how do you define virtue in your own life? Is it about honesty, resilience, or compassion? And how can these qualities shape the decisions you make, especially when the stakes are high? By reflecting on these questions, you can begin to see how Stoic virtues aren't just abstract concepts. They're practical tools for building a life of meaning, even in the face of unpredictability. Your perspective shapes your reality. It's not just a philosophical idea, it's a truth that the Stoics understood deeply. They believed that the way we see the world, and especially the challenges we face, determines how we experience them. Think about it. Two people can face the same obstacle, but one sees it as a crushing defeat, while the other sees it as a chance to grow. The difference? Perspective. One of history's most famous Stoics put it simply, "The obstacle is the way." What he meant was that every challenge, every setback, holds within it the seeds of opportunity. It's not about denying the difficulty or pretending everything is fine. It's about shifting your focus, seeing the obstacle not as something blocking your path, but as the path itself. This subtle mental shift can transform frustration into fuel and failure into a lesson. Let's bring this to life with an example. Imagine you've just been passed over for a promotion at work. At first, it feels like a punch to the gut. You might think, "I'm not good enough," or "this isn't fair." But what if instead you asked yourself, "What can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become better?" Suddenly, the setback becomes a stepping stone. Maybe it reveals a skill you need to develop or a blind spot you hadn't noticed. By reframing the situation, you turn it into an opportunity for growth rather than a source of pain. This is the power of perspective. It doesn't change the external circumstances, but it changes how you interact with them. And when you start to see challenges as opportunities, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your own growth. So here's a question to consider. What's one challenge in your life that you could reframe as an opportunity? It might be something small, like a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, or something bigger, like a major life change you didn't expect. Whatever it is, try looking at it through the lens of Stoic acceptance. Ask yourself, what can this teach me? How can I grow from this? That shift in perspective might just change everything. What if you stopped expecting life to go a certain way? Think about it. How often do we set rigid expectations, only to feel frustrated, disappointed, or even devastated when things don't turn out as planned? This is where Stoicism offers a powerful lesson. Unmet expectations are one of the greatest sources of suffering, and learning to let them go can transform how we experience life. When we cling to how we think things should be, we create unnecessary resistance to how they actually are. Stoicism teaches us to release these expectations and accept reality on its own terms, not ours. Seneca once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." This quote captures the heart of the issue. So much of our pain comes not from the events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about them. We imagine the perfect outcome, and when reality doesn't match that vision, we feel let down. But what if, instead of resisting the unexpected, we embraced it? Take something as simple as planning a vacation. You might dream of sunny skies, perfect meals, and seamless travel, only to face delays, bad weather, or unexpected hiccups. It's easy to feel cheated or stressed when things don't go as planned, but Stoicism invites us to shift our perspective. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, we can choose to see the beauty in the unplanned, the laughter in a rainy day, the adventure in a detour, or the lesson in a challenge. By releasing our expectations, we open ourselves to the richness of life as it unfolds, not as we demand it to be. Here's a question to reflect on. What's one expectation you've held onto that's caused you stress? Maybe it's a career goal, a relationship dynamic, or even a vision of how your day should go. Stoicism doesn't ask us to give up on our goals or stop dreaming. Instead, it encourages us to hold our expectations lightly, understanding that life is unpredictable and often beyond our control. When we let go of the need for things to be a certain way, we free ourselves to find peace in whatever comes our way. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic acceptance, offering a powerful tool to reframe our perspective and find peace in the present moment. The Stoics understood that by focusing on what we already possess, rather than what we lack, we can cultivate a sense of contentment that shields us from the turbulence of an unpredictable world. It's not about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about training our minds to see the value in what's already here, right now. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it beautifully when he said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This isn't just a feel-good sentiment, it's a practical strategy for living. By practicing gratitude, we shift our attention away from the endless cycle of desire and disappointment that often comes from chasing what's outside our control. Instead, we anchor ourselves in the tangible, the present, and the meaningful. Think about the small joys that often go unnoticed: the warmth of a morning coffee, the sound of birds outside your window, or even a kind word from a stranger. These moments, though ordinary, are rich with potential for gratitude. When we take the time to appreciate them, we're not just acknowledging their existence, we're actively choosing to find value in the here and now. This practice doesn't require grand gestures or life-changing events. It's about cultivating a habit of noticing and celebrating the little things that make life worth living. So what's one thing you're grateful for today? It could be as simple as a quiet moment to yourself or the support of someone who cares about you. By asking this question, you're not just reflecting on gratitude, you're taking the first step toward building a mindset that embraces acceptance. Gratitude, in the Stoic sense, isn't about ignoring life's hardships. It's about finding strength and joy in what we already have, even as we navigate the challenges that come our way. And in doing so, we create a foundation of resilience and peace that no external circumstance can easily shake. What if every hardship was a teacher? This is the lens through which Stoics view adversity, not as something to avoid, but as an essential part of growth. For the Stoics, challenges aren't obstacles to happiness. They're opportunities to strengthen character, refine perspective, and cultivate resilience. Think of it like forging metal. The heat and pressure are uncomfortable, but they're what make the material stronger. One of Stoicism's most famous practitioners put it this way: what stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the very thing that seems to block your progress can be the path to your growth. This isn't just philosophical optimism, it's a practical mindset. When you face a setback, whether it's a personal failure, a professional rejection, or even a loss, you're being handed a chance to practice virtues like patience, courage, and humility. Take the example of someone who experiences a major career setback. Maybe they've been passed over for a promotion or lost a job they loved. It's easy to feel defeated, but a Stoic would see this as an opportunity to reassess, learn, and adapt. What skills can they improve? What new paths might open up because of this change? By reframing the situation, they transform adversity into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. So what's one adversity you faced that taught you something valuable? Maybe it was a relationship that didn't work out, a project that failed, or a health challenge you overcame. Whatever it was, consider how it shaped you. Did it make you more patient, more determined, more empathetic? These are the lessons Stoics encourage us to seek in every hardship, reminding us that growth often comes disguised as difficulty. Self-discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, a truth the Stoics understood deeply. In a world filled with distractions and uncertainties, self-discipline becomes the tool that helps us focus on what truly matters. It's not about punishing ourselves or denying pleasures, but about aligning our actions with what's within our control. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from mastering our impulses and staying committed to our principles, no matter the chaos around us. As Epictetus put it, no man is free who is not master of himself. This mastery is what allows us to live with intention and integrity. Consider the practice of daily meditation, a habit that requires consistency and focus. It's easy to let distractions pull us away, work deadlines, social media, or even our own wandering thoughts. But self-discipline is what keeps us returning to the practice, even when it feels inconvenient or difficult. By doing so, we train our minds to stay present and grounded, embodying the Stoic ideal of focusing on what we can control. It's not about perfection, but about progress, showing up day after day, even when it's hard. So where in your life could you apply more self-discipline? Is it in managing your time, staying calm under pressure, or perhaps maintaining a healthier lifestyle? The key is to start small, choosing one area where you can practice intentional focus. Over time, these small acts of discipline build resilience, helping you navigate life's unpredictability with greater ease and clarity. After all, self-discipline isn't just a skill. It's a way of living that brings us closer to the Stoic vision of a life well lived. How do our connections with others shape our ability to accept life's uncertainties? This is a question the Stoics took seriously, recognizing that while much of life is beyond our control, the relationships we build can serve as a powerful anchor in turbulent times. Stoicism, often seen as a philosophy of self-reliance, also places profound value on the role of community. It's not about isolating yourself from others, but about cultivating relationships that uplift and strengthen you. One of Stoicism's most famous practitioners often reflected on the interconnectedness of humanity. He reminded himself that we are all part of a greater whole, and that supporting one another is not just a duty but a source of resilience. Seneca, another Stoic giant, put it even more directly: associate with people who are likely to improve you. This isn't about surrounding yourself with perfection, but seeking out those who inspire growth, challenge your thinking, and offer support when life feels overwhelming. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time a friend's advice or presence helped you navigate a tough situation? Maybe it was a kind word during a stressful day or a listening ear when you needed to vent. These moments aren't just comforting, they're opportunities to practice Stoic acceptance together. When we lean on others, we remind ourselves that we don't have to face life's unpredictability alone. Stoicism teaches us that relationships are a two-way street. Just as others support us, we have a responsibility to be that same source of strength for them. It's about reciprocity, sharing wisdom, offering encouragement, and being present even when it's inconvenient. In doing so, we not only deepen our connections, but also build a network of mutual support that makes the unpredictable nature of life a little easier to bear. So, who in your life helps you stay grounded during tough times? Take a moment to reflect on the people who've been there for you, not just in the good moments, but especially in the hard ones. And consider this: how can you show up for them in the same way? Because at the heart of Stoic acceptance is the understanding that we're all in this together, and our relationships are one of the few things we can truly influence in a world full of uncertainty. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. This simple truth lies at the heart of Stoic practice, offering us a way to transform the chaos of daily life into clarity and growth. For the Stoics, reflection wasn't just a habit, it was a tool for cultivating acceptance and resilience. By taking time each day to pause and look inward, we can process what we've experienced, extract lessons, and move forward with greater understanding. One of the most effective ways the Stoics practiced reflection was through journaling. One of the most well-known Stoic philosophers kept a personal journal, now known as Meditations, where he recorded his thoughts, struggles, and insights. He once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." This practice of reflecting on gratitude and perspective each morning set the tone for his day, helping him approach challenges with calm and resolve. But how does this apply to us? Let's say you've had a particularly tough day. Maybe a project didn't go as planned or a conversation left you feeling frustrated. Instead of letting those emotions linger, take a few moments to sit down and write about what happened. Ask yourself questions like, "What did I learn from this?" Or "How can I respond better next time?" This isn't about dwelling on the negative. It's about finding meaning and growth in every experience. Over time, this habit helps you build a deeper sense of acceptance, not just of the world around you, but of yourself. So, what's one thing you've learned from reflecting on a recent experience? Whether it's a small moment of insight or a larger life lesson, taking the time to reflect can help you turn even the most difficult days into opportunities for growth. The Stoics believed that wisdom comes not from avoiding challenges, but from learning to navigate them with grace. And reflection is the compass that guides us on that journey. What if fear was just an illusion? What if the thing holding you back isn't as real or as powerful as it seems? The Stoics believed that fear is not something that happens to us, it's something we create in our minds. It's a reaction to uncertainty, a projection of what might happen rather than what is happening. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "We are more often frightened than hurt." In other words, fear often exaggerates the threat, making it appear larger and more dangerous than it truly is. So how do we confront fear from a Stoic perspective? The first step is to recognize that fear is rooted in our judgments and perceptions. It's not the external event itself that causes fear, but how we interpret it. For example, think about public speaking, a fear so common that it often tops the list of people's anxieties. The thought of standing in front of an audience might trigger a flood of worries. What if I mess up? What if people judge me? But here's the thing. None of those fears are happening in the present moment. They're projections of the future, created entirely in your mind. Stoicism teaches us to break down fear by examining it rationally. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Often, the worst-case scenario isn't as catastrophic as we imagine. Even if it were, Stoicism reminds us that we have the inner strength to handle it. Fear loses its grip when we realize that we're not powerless. We have the ability to choose how we respond. Now, let's bring this to life with a practical example. Imagine you're about to give a presentation at work. Instead of letting fear take over, you could apply Stoic principles by focusing on what's within your control. You can prepare thoroughly, practice your delivery, and remind yourself that the opinions of others are outside your control. By shifting your focus to what you can influence, you reduce the power of fear and replace it with a sense of agency. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one fear you'd like to overcome, and how could Stoicism help? By approaching fear with curiosity and rationality, you can start to see it not as an enemy, but as an opportunity to grow. After all, as the Stoics remind us, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, said Leonardo da Vinci, and the Stoics would wholeheartedly agree. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to strip away the unnecessary, not just in our surroundings, but in our minds as well. When we simplify our lives, we're not just creating more space in our homes or schedules. We're making room for clarity, focus, and peace. This idea isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. By reducing distractions and desires, we free ourselves from the constant pull of external things and refocus on what truly matters. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, put it perfectly. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Think about that for a moment. True wealth isn't measured by what we own, but by how little we feel we need. This is the heart of Stoic acceptance, learning to find contentment in what we already have, rather than chasing after what we don't. It's a mindset shift that transforms how we approach life, helping us see abundance where we might have once seen lack. One practical way to embrace this principle is through decluttering. Take your home, for example. When you remove the excess, old clothes you no longer wear, items you've been holding onto, just in case you're not just tidying up, you're creating mental clarity. Each thing you let go of is a small act of acceptance, a way of saying, I don't need this to be happy. Over time, this practice extends beyond physical objects. It helps you identify and let go of emotional clutter. 2. Habits, relationships, or expectations that no longer serve you. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one area of your life you could simplify? Maybe it's your schedule, your digital habits, or even the way you approach your goals. By taking small steps to reduce complexity, you're not just making life easier, you're aligning yourself with the Stoic ideal of focusing on what's truly within your control. And in doing so, you create a foundation for deeper acceptance and resilience, no matter what life throws your way. What if thinking about death could help you live better? At first glance, it might seem counterintuitive, but for the Stoics, this idea is central to living a meaningful and fulfilling life. They didn't see death as something to fear or avoid, but as a natural, inevitable part of existence, one that could serve as a powerful reminder to appreciate the present moment. Once wrote, "Death smiles at us all we can do is smile back." This isn't a morbid resignation, but an invitation to embrace life fully, knowing our time here is limited. The Stoic perspective on death isn't about dwelling on its inevitability in a way that paralyzes us. Instead, It's about using that awareness to sharpen our focus on what truly matters. When we recognize that life is finite, we're more likely to prioritize relationships, cultivate gratitude, and let go of trivial worries. Think about it. If today were your last day, would you spend it arguing over small things or chasing things that don't bring you joy? Probably not. The Stoics believed that reflecting on mortality helps us strip away the noise and live with greater clarity and purpose. Take the example of losing a loved one. While grief is a natural and deeply human experience, Stoicism offers a way to navigate it with resilience. By accepting that death is part of the natural order, we can honor the time we had with that person rather than being consumed by regret or despair. It's not about suppressing emotions, but about finding a way to channel them into meaningful action, cherishing their memory, living in alignment with their values, and appreciating the relationships we still have. So, how does the thought of mortality influence how you live your life? Does it push you to take risks, to say what you need to say, or to spend your time more intentionally? The Stoics would argue that acknowledging the impermanence of life isn't a burden, it's a gift. It's what gives our choices weight and our moments meaning. When we stop pretending that we have unlimited time, we start living with a sense of urgency and appreciation that can transform even the most ordinary days into something extraordinary. Equanimity is the art of staying balanced, no matter what happens. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Instead, it's about cultivating a steady mindset that allows you to navigate life's inevitable highs and lows with grace. The Stoics believed that true freedom lies in mastering our reactions, not in controlling external events. As Epictetus wisely pointed out, man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them. In other words, it's not the event itself that upsets us, it's how we interpret it. Stoics train themselves to remain steady by focusing on what's within their control, their thoughts, judgments, and actions. When life throws a curveball, whether it's a sudden job loss, a personal setback, or even an unexpected windfall, they pause and reflect. They remind themselves that external events are neutral. It's their perspective that gives them meaning. This shift in mindset allows them to respond rather than react, choosing calmness over chaos. Think about the last time you received unexpected news, good or bad. Maybe it was a promotion, a breakup, or even a health diagnosis. How did you respond? Did you feel swept away by emotion, or were you able to step back and assess the situation with clarity? Equanimity helps us do the latter. It doesn't mean we don't feel. Stoics aren't robots, but it means we don't let those feelings dictate our actions. Instead, we take a breath, acknowledge the moment, and decide how to move forward with intention. So, how do you typically react to sudden changes? Do you find yourself overwhelmed, or do you approach them with a sense of calm? And more importantly, how could practicing equanimity help you navigate life's unpredictability with more ease? These are questions worth reflecting on, because the more we train ourselves to stay balanced, the more resilient and grounded we become. Equanimity isn't just a Stoic virtue, it's a tool for living a more peaceful and purposeful life. What if admitting you don't know everything was the key to growth? This simple yet profound question lies at the heart of Stoic humility, a virtue that teaches us to embrace our limitations and remain open to learning. The Stoics believed that true wisdom begins with acknowledging how much we don't know. As Seneca once said, "No man was ever wise by chance." In other words, wisdom isn't something that just happens to us. It's the result of deliberate humility, of recognizing our gaps and seeking to fill them. Humility, in the Stoic sense, isn't about self-deprecation or diminishing your worth. It's about seeing yourself clearly without ego or defensiveness. When we admit we don't have all the answers, we create space for growth. Think about it. How often do we cling to what we already know, shutting out opportunities to learn from others? Humility allows us to step back and say, I don't have this figured out yet, and that's okay. It's a quiet strength that opens doors to self-improvement. Let's bring this to life with a practical example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague offers feedback on a project you've been leading. Your first instinct might be to defend your decisions or dismiss their input. But what if instead you approached the situation with humility? What if you listened, considered their perspective, and even admitted where you could improve? That simple act of humility doesn't just foster personal growth. It builds trust, strengthens relationships, and creates a culture of learning. So here's a question to reflect on. When was the last time you admitted you were wrong, and what did you learn from that experience? Even small moments of humility can lead to significant insights. Maybe you realized a different approach could work better, or perhaps you gained a deeper understanding of someone else's perspective. These moments, though often uncomfortable, are where true growth happens. Humility, as the Stoics teach us, isn't a weakness, it's a pathway to wisdom. By embracing it, we not only accept our limitations, but also unlock the potential to learn, adapt, and thrive in an unpredictable world. Desire is the root of much suffering. It's a universal truth that the Stoics understood deeply, and one that still resonates today. At its core, desire drives us, whether it's for success, approval, or material possessions. But the Stoics asked a profound question. What happens when our desires become endless, when they pull us away from what truly matters? This is where the practice of Stoic acceptance comes into play. It's not about eliminating desire entirely, but about learning to manage it wisely. The Stoics taught us to distinguish between natural desires, those that align with our basic needs and values, and those that are artificial, often tied to external validation or societal expectations. Natural desires might include the need for food, shelter, or meaningful relationships. These are rooted in our humanity and contribute to our well-being. But artificial desires, they're the ones that keep us chasing after things we don't truly need, leaving us perpetually unsatisfied. Think about the endless pursuit of the latest gadgets, the perfect job title, or even social media likes. These things can feel important in the moment, but they rarely bring lasting fulfillment. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. What he's saying here is powerful. When we tie our happiness to external outcomes, things we can't fully control, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we focus on what's within our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, we find a deeper sense of freedom. It's about shifting our perspective from what we want to what we already have. Let's take a practical example, the pursuit of material possessions. How often do we convince ourselves that buying something new will make us happier? Maybe it's a new car, a bigger house, or the latest phone. And sure, there's a temporary thrill, but over time, that excitement fades and we're left wanting more. This cycle of desire and dissatisfaction is exactly what the Stoics warned against. They believed that true contentment comes not from accumulating more, but from appreciating what's already here. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one desire you could let go of to find greater peace? It doesn't have to be something dramatic. Maybe it's the need to always be right, the craving for constant approval, or the pressure to keep up with others. By identifying and releasing these artificial desires, we create space for what truly matters: inner calm, gratitude, and a deeper connection to the present moment. This is the essence of Stoic acceptance, finding freedom not by chasing more, but by wanting less. What if silence was the key to understanding yourself? In a world that's constantly buzzing with notifications, opinions, and distractions, silence can feel like a rare luxury. But for the Stoics, it wasn't just a luxury, it was a necessity. They saw silence as a powerful tool for self-reflection, a way to detach from the chaos of the external world and turn inward. When we quiet the noise around us, we create space to hear our own thoughts, to examine our reactions, and to find clarity in the midst of uncertainty. One of the most famous Stoic philosophers once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This idea of retreating inward isn't about escaping reality. It's about creating a sanctuary within yourself, a place where you can process your emotions, question your assumptions, and align your actions with your values. Silence, in this sense, becomes a form of empowerment. It allows you to step back from the external pressures and reconnect with what truly matters. Think about the last time you truly embraced silence. Was it during a walk in nature, or maybe in the early hours of the morning before the world woke up? For many of us, those moments of quiet are few and far between. But what if you intentionally carved out time for silence in your daily life? One practical way to do this is through a digital detox, turning off your phone, stepping away from social media, and simply being present with your thoughts. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially in a world that values constant connection, but that discomfort is where growth begins. So ask yourself, when was the last time you embraced silence and what did you discover? Did you notice emotions you'd been avoiding or ideas you hadn't fully considered? The Stoics believed that silence wasn't just the absence of noise, it was the presence of opportunity. An opportunity to reflect, to grow, and to find peace within yourself, no matter what's happening around you. True success is about who you are, not what you have. This is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy when it comes to understanding achievement. For the Stoics, success isn't tied to external markers like wealth, fame, or status. Instead, it's rooted in something far more enduring: your character and your ability to live in alignment with virtue. Imagine a world where your sense of accomplishment isn't dictated by the size of your bank account or the number of followers you have, but by the strength of your integrity, your resilience in the face of challenges, and your commitment to doing what's right. That's the Stoic view of success, a perspective that shifts the focus from what's outside your control to what's within it. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." What he's saying is that true poverty isn't about lacking material possessions, it's about lacking contentment. If you're constantly chasing more money, more recognition, more things, you'll never feel successful, no matter how much you accumulate. But if you cultivate gratitude and focus on developing your character, you'll find a deeper, more lasting sense of fulfillment. This is why Stoicism teaches us to measure success by our internal state rather than external circumstances. Let's bring this idea to life with a practical example. Think about how often we compare ourselves to others, whether it's a colleague who got a promotion, a friend with a bigger house, or even a stranger on social media who seems to have it all together. These comparisons can leave us feeling inadequate, as if we're falling short. But Stoicism invites us to turn that focus inward. Instead of asking, "Do I have as much as they do?" we ask, "Am I living with integrity? Am I growing as a person? Am I contributing to the world in a meaningful way?" By shifting the question, we shift the measure of success. So how do you define success? Does it align with the Stoic principles we've just explored? Take a moment to reflect on what truly matters to you. Is it the external markers of achievement, or is it the internal qualities that define who you are? The Stoics believed that when we stop chasing what's fleeting and start cultivating what's lasting, we unlock a kind of success that no one can take away from us. And that's a goal worth striving for. What if forgiveness was the key to inner peace? It's a question worth asking, especially when we consider how much energy we spend holding onto grudges, resentment, or anger. The Stoics believed that forgiveness isn't just about letting others off the hook. It's about freeing ourselves from the emotional weight that comes with holding onto pain. When we refuse to forgive, we're the ones who suffer most, trapped in a cycle of bitterness that keeps us from moving forward. Once said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Think about that for a moment. Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's actions or pretending they didn't hurt us. It's about choosing to rise above the harm, to respond with integrity and clarity rather than letting someone else's behavior dictate our emotional state. By forgiving, we reclaim our power and refuse to let the past control our present. Let's take a practical example. Imagine a close friend betrays your trust. Maybe they shared a secret you confided in them or failed to support you when you needed it most. The natural reaction might be anger, frustration, or even the desire to cut them out of your life entirely. But here's the Stoic perspective. Holding on to that resentment only keeps you tied to the pain. Forgiving them doesn't mean you have to pretend it didn't happen or ignore the hurt. It simply means you choose to let go of the bitterness so you can move forward without carrying that burden. So ask yourself this: is there someone you need to forgive? And what's holding you back? Is it fear of being hurt again, pride, or the belief that forgiveness means letting someone win? Stoicism teaches us that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves, a way to release the past and embrace the present with a clearer, lighter heart. It's not easy, but it's a practice that can transform how we experience the world and our relationships within it. Change is the only constant in life. It's a truth we all know, yet so often resist. The Stoics, however, saw change not as a threat but as an essential part of existence. They believed that life's unpredictability wasn't something to fear but an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. For them, change wasn't the enemy, it was the teacher. Take Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, who said, "No great thing is created suddenly." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that growth happens gradually, often through the very changes we resist. Whether it's a career shift, a move to a new city, or even the small daily adjustments life throws our way, change is the raw material for transformation. Stoics encourage us to meet it with curiosity and openness, rather than clinging to what's familiar. Think about a time when you faced a major change, perhaps starting a new job or moving to a different place. At first, it might have felt overwhelming, even intimidating. But over time, as you adapted, you likely discovered new strengths, new perspectives, or even new opportunities you wouldn't have encountered otherwise. That's the Stoic approach in action, seeing change not as a disruption but as a doorway to growth. So how do you typically respond to change? Do you resist it, clinging to the comfort of what you know? Or do you embrace it, trusting that it's leading you towards something better? Stoicism invites us to shift our mindset, to see change as a natural, even necessary, part of becoming who we're meant to be. It's not about denying the challenges. It's about recognizing that within those challenges lies the potential for profound personal development. By adopting this perspective, we can move through life's inevitable shifts with greater ease and confidence. Instead of fearing the unknown, we can approach it with a sense of purpose, knowing that every change, no matter how small, is an opportunity to practice resilience and deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. What if patience was the key to mastering acceptance? In a world filled with unpredictability, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a superpower. The Stoics understood this deeply, teaching that patience allows us to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and resilience. It's not about passively waiting for things to happen, but about trusting the process and focusing on what we can control, rather than wasting energy on what we can't. As Seneca once said, "Time heals what reason cannot." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that some things are beyond our immediate influence, and that's okay. Patience gives us the space to breathe, to reflect, and to act wisely when the moment is right. Think about a situation many of us face, waiting for a promotion at work. It's easy to feel frustrated, wondering why your efforts haven't been recognized yet. But what if, instead of letting that frustration consume you, you shifted your perspective? What if you saw this waiting period as an opportunity to grow, to refine your skills, or to build stronger relationships with your colleagues? Patience, in this context, isn't about sitting back and doing nothing. It's about trusting that your efforts will bear fruit in due time, while staying grounded in the present moment. It's about recognizing that some things are outside your control, but your attitude and actions are always within your power. So where in your life could you practice more patience? Is it in your career, your relationships, or maybe even your personal goals? Take a moment to reflect on this. How might embracing patience help you approach that situation with more calm and clarity? Remember, patience isn't about giving up. It's about aligning yourself with the natural rhythm of life, trusting that even in uncertainty, you have the strength to move forward with purpose and peace. Happiness is not something you find, it's something you create. This is the foundation of the Stoic view of happiness. Unlike many modern ideas that tie happiness to external achievements, wealth, or recognition, Stoicism teaches us that true happiness comes from within. It's a state of mind, cultivated through virtue, self-discipline, and acceptance of what we cannot control. For the Stoics, happiness isn't about chasing fleeting pleasures or avoiding discomfort. It's about aligning your thoughts and actions with your deepest values, regardless of the chaos around you. One of Stoicism's most prominent figures put it this way: "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This powerful statement reminds us that our inner world shapes our experience far more than the external one. If we train our minds to focus on what's within our control, our choices, our responses, our character, we can find a steady sense of fulfillment, even in the face of life's unpredictability. Happiness then becomes a practice, not a prize to be won. Consider the joy of simple, everyday moments. A quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a walk in nature, or a meaningful conversation with a friend. These are the kinds of experiences that Stoics value. They don't depend on external validation or material wealth. Instead, they arise from our ability to be fully present, to appreciate what we have, and to live in alignment with our principles. This is where true happiness lives, in the small, intentional moments that remind us of our capacity to choose how we engage with the world. So, what's one thing that brings you true happiness, regardless of external circumstances? It's worth reflecting on this question, because the answer might reveal how much of your joy already comes from within. Maybe it's the satisfaction of learning something new, the warmth of a kind gesture, or the peace that comes from simply being still. Whatever it is, recognizing these sources of inner happiness can help you build a life that's resilient, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling, no matter what the world throws your way. As we come to the end of this exploration into Stoic acceptance, let's take a moment to revisit the core principles that can help us navigate life's unpredictability with grace and resilience. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the practice of cognitive detachment, the ability to step back from our immediate reactions and observe events with clarity. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending things don't affect us. Instead, it's about recognizing that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. Resilience, another cornerstone of Stoicism, emerges from this mindset. By training ourselves to focus on what's within our control, our thoughts, choices, and actions, we build the mental toughness to face challenges without being overwhelmed. And let's not forget the power of presence. Being fully engaged in the here and now allows us to meet each moment with intention, rather than being pulled into regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. But here, the key takeaway. Stoic acceptance isn't something you're born with, it's a skill, one that grows stronger with practice. Every setback, every moment of uncertainty is an opportunity to exercise this skill. Over time, it becomes second nature, transforming the way you experience life's ups and downs. To leave you with a thought to carry forward, let's turn to the words of Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. These words remind us that our power lies not in changing the world around us, but in how we choose to engage with it. So, as you move forward, I encourage you to reflect on how you can apply these principles in your own life. Where can you practice a little more detachment? How can you strengthen your resilience? And what steps can you take to be more present in your daily experiences? If this journey into Stoic acceptance has resonated with you, consider subscribing for more insights into living a thoughtful, intentional life. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one way you'll start practicing Stoic acceptance today? Let's continue this conversation and grow together.